propose करा.
So that is the way in which yoga has to be looked at, and a complete 360-degree responsibility one has to take, and a transformation at all the three levels has to be achieved, and then one becomes a yogi. And a yogi is like a person who is insulated. He doesn't get the shocks of life. It's like, you're wearing a glove and you're putting your hand in the live wire and you don't get shocked. It's like applying oil in the hand and putting your hand inside a jackfruit, and the stickiness of the jackfruit doesn't affect you. So I wish all of you think about these ideas. In the short time available, I have tried to throw a little bit of light with my limited capacity, vocabulary, knowledge, and I hope I've been helpful and I've done a good service to all of you.
Definitely, Swamiji. Now the session is open for interaction. You may ask your doubts. We have another 10 minutes.
Looks like all of them have understood it totally.
Any questions, please? Any doubts? Because we had a beautiful session today about the responsibilities we are now carrying as being in the field of yoga, and what should be the path, how we need to take to be as a yogi, real yogi. Swamiji has really thrown light on this. And is this now the session is open for doubts. If there are no doubts, we assume that you are clear with the concept, clear with the session handled by Swamiji today. And
Hari Om.
Haan.
Sorry to interrupt. Swamiji, Hari Om. I do have a doubt. I'm not sure if it is related. Anyway, so now that we are in a field of yoga, so we come across so many people around us. Sometimes we do feel their pain. Is it advisable for a yogi to actually take that pain as a personal one, or how should we react? When we come across, because there are so many healers in between us. So when we start healing as a yoga therapist or in any form, so we know that the person, when the people come to us and they discuss about their problems and all, so we have an idea about the problem, but is it advisable for us to actually feel that pain or take that pain as a personal one, or how should we react? Or what do you want to say about this?
Thank you, Deepika Ma. It's a very relevant question. When you develop compassion, obviously you will get connected with people, and you would like to help people. And in the process, you may get attached to people.
Right.
And there is doubt that will that attachment create some kind of karmic transfer upon me? Will their pain come upon me? will their suffering come upon me? First of all, one has to be like an ocean to accept the rivers into oneself. Without becoming an ocean, how is it possible to accept a river into yourself? Like, let's say you are a small house, and if a river comes inside your house, what will happen to you or to your house? But what happens to the ocean? Nothing happens. Apuryamanam achala pratishtam samudra apah pravishanti advat. Like how the waters in the rivers flow into the ocean, and there is absolutely no change in the nature of the ocean. After so many thousands of years, after so many rivers flowing into the ocean, with trillions and trillions of tons of fresh water flowing into the ocean, should the ocean not become less salty? Just think about it. It doesn't change its nature, right? The same way, in the same way, you need to first of all establish yourself firmly in your understanding and experience of yoga. When that becomes clear and sure, you will also be like the ocean, vast, infinite. Deepika, the girl, is limited. Your knowledge is limited. Your experience is limited. Your prana is limited. Your understanding is limited. Your emotions is limited. But if you, through the process of yoga, discover your true nature, then you will realize the vastness, the Satchidananda. And the Satchidananda, when that is discovered, then you are like the ocean. And when you become like the ocean, even if somebody's pain flows into you, you will just accept it and nothing will happen to you.
Right. So that means remaining unaffected. So we have to strengthen ourselves in such a way that we remain unaffected. The nature is not disturbed. The nature of the ocean, just like the nature of the ocean is not disturbed or not changed. Same way, our nature should not be affected.
Yeah, when you speak of strength, strength is a relative term.
Okay, so
am I stronger than you or are you stronger than me? So it is a very relative term.
Right, so that's not the right, is it?
It's not strengthening. When you discover your Satchidananda, when you become a yogi, when you are beyond the influences of everything that's happening around you, then even if somebody's pain flows into you, it is not going to affect you. And there is a lot more in this, concept of helping others. And I think with a few minutes time, it's not possible to explore it thoroughly.
Sure.
Anyway, thank you for asking this question, and I hope a preliminary understanding has been provided.
Right, because the difference between the compassion and attachment, often being compassionate is fine, but sometimes we get so attached, compassion leading to attachment, and there is a thin line or thin film which we need to take care of or we need to understand so that we remain unaffected, like you said.
Yeah. When you really have compassion, there will be no attachment in it.
Okay.
People don't have compassion. People have ego.
Oh, okay.
People think that now I am a master of yoga. People think that now I am a great yoga teacher. People think that now I am a great healer. I know. I am capable. I can. I will. It is like that they approach it. But when they true nature of self is discovered, then there is no question of attachment.
Right. Thank you so much, sir.
வாழ்க வளமுடன் Swamiji. One more clearance I want.
Who's
Swamiji?
asking this? Shiva. We see who's asking this.
Yeah, I am Girija Lakshmi.
Okay.
Girija. Swamiji, all miseries come for our sthula body only, no, affect. But our spiritual body cannot affect, no, for yogis.
Yeah.
So that in that way we have to feel, no.
Yeah. தமிழ்ல சொல்லலாமா?
தமிழ்லயே சொல்லுங்க ஐயா.
சரி.
அதாவது ஸ்தூலத்துக்கு தானே எல்லாருடைய மிசரிஸும் ஸ்தூலத்தை பார்த்துதான் அவங்க நம்ம கிட்ட ஆக்ட் பண்ணுவாங்க, மத்தவங்க ஆக்ட் பண்ணும்போது. ஆனா நம்ம வந்து சச்சிதானந்தமா இருக்கிறோம் அப்படின்ற ஸ்டேஜ்ல வரும்பொழுது அதெல்லாம் நமக்கு அஃபெக்ட் ஆகாது இல்லைங்களா?
ஆமா. அதாவது ஸ்தூலம் சரீரம்
சரீரத்துக்கு தானே அவங்க எல்லாமே பண்றாங்க.
இப்போ நீங்க முடிச்சிட்டீங்கன்றதுனால நான் ஆரம்பிக்கலாம்னு நினைக்கிறேன்.
சரிங்க.
நான் பேசி முடிக்கிற வரைக்கும் நீங்க கேட்டீங்கன்னா நேர்ல இருந்தா பரவாயில்ல.
ஓகே.
நான் பேசி முடிக்கிறேன். உங்களுக்கு ஏதாவது கேள்வியோ இல்ல நீங்க ஏதாவது சொல்லணும்னு நினைச்சா நான் நிறுத்தின அப்புறமா நீங்க சொல்லுங்க.
ஓகே. சரிங்க ஐயா.
சரிம்மா. ஸ்தூலம் அப்படிங்கிறதும் சூக்ஷ்மம் அப்படிங்கிறதும் காரணம் அப்படிங்கிறதும் மூணுமே உடம்புகள் தான். ஸ்தூல உடம்பு வந்து நான் இப்ப இங்க உட்கார்ந்துருக்கேன், எனக்கு ஒரு தலைமண்டை இருக்கு, தோள்கள் இருக்கு, உடம்பு இருக்கு, கால் இருக்கு, கை இருக்கு, கண் இருக்கு, மூக்கு இருக்கு, இதெல்லாம் என்னுடைய ஸ்தூல சரீரம். இதெல்லாம் இயங்குதுன்றதுனால இது உள்ளுக்குள்ள ஒரு நுரையீரல் இருக்கு, எலும்பு கூடு இருக்கு, இதயம் இருக்கு, கணையம் இருக்கு, பெருக்குடல் இருக்கு, சிறுகுடல் இருக்கு, இதெல்லாமும் ஸ்தூல சரீரம். இது உள்ளுக்குள்ள சூக்ஷ்ம சரீரம்ன்றது இருக்கு. சூக்ஷ்ம சரீரம்ன்றது என்னுடைய மனம், என்னுடைய உணர்ச்சிகள், என்னுடைய எண்ணங்கள், என்னுடைய ஆசைகள், என்னுடைய கவலைகள், என்னுடைய பயங்கள், என்னுடைய கோபங்கள், எனக்கு பிடித்தது, எனக்கு பிடிக்காதது, இது போன்ற எல்லாமே சூக்ஷ்மத்துலதான் சேருது. பிராணனும் சூக்ஷ்மத்துலதான் சேருது. என்னை பற்றிய என்னுடைய சுய மதிப்பீடும் சூக்ஷ்மத்திலேதான் சேருது. இந்த சூக்ஷ்மமாக இருக்கக்கூடிய அனைத்துமே உடம்புதான். உடம்புங்கிற போது இது மாதிரி உடம்பு இல்ல, அது சூக்ஷ்மமாக இருக்கிற உடம்பு, கண்ணுக்கு தெரியாது, புலன்களால் உணர முடியாத உடல். அதனாலதான் அதுக்கு சூக்ஷ்ம சரீரம்னு பேரு. அப்ப அந்த சூக்ஷ்ம சரீரமும் உடம்புதான். கண்ணால பார்த்து, தொட்டு பார்த்து, முகர்ந்து பார்த்து உணரக்கூடிய இந்த ஸ்தூல உடம்பும் உடம்புதான். இதற்கு பின்னால காரணமாக ஒரு உடல் இருக்கிறது. அந்த காரணமாக இருக்கிற உடம்பு வந்து நம்மளாலேயும் உணர முடியாது, பிறராலையும் உணர முடியாது. இது மூணுமே உடம்புதான். இந்த மூணுமே அஃபெக்ட் ஆகலாம். சச்சிதானந்தம் அப்படின்னு சொல்லக்கூடியது ஆத்மாவினுடைய தன்மை. ஆத்மாவுக்குத்தான் எந்த விதத்திலையும் பாதிப்பு இல்லாமல் இருக்கு. இதுதான் என்னுடைய பதில்.
சரிங்க, தேங்க்ஸ் ஐயா.
சரிம்மா.
வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
வாழ்க வளம்.
ஹரி ஓம் சுவாமிஜி.
மாடர்ன்
டைம்ஸ்ல வந்து மெடிடேஷன் we are starting. இப்ப எப்படின்னா once I have to master the hatha yoga. Okay, once I have to start the hatha yoga and I should make the stillness of my body and mind. After that I should go meditation or raja yoga, or how it should be the process? Because in the modern days we are going the meditation raja yoga side parallelly or before while doing the hatha yoga itself.
Yeah. So what is your question?
So அதை எப்படி இது பண்ணணும், நம்ம எப்படி இது முடிச்சிட்டு அதல I am okay அந்த மாதிரி ஆனதுக்கு அப்புறம் I am satisfied அந்த மாதிரி ஆனதுக்கு அப்புறம் we should go to the raja yoga, or how it will be?
From the perspective of hatha yoga, meditation itself is not done consciously. In hatha yoga, The entire focus is on bringing about balance between Ida and Pingala. Therefore, the person is not trying to essentially do a meditation. The person balances between Ida and Pingala, and when the balance takes place, the experience of Samadhi is automatic. And in the case of Raja Yoga, meditation is not the first thing you do at all. Meditation has to be done much later. Without proper background, without a preparation, meditation is not referred to. In Raja Yoga, the basic step is not meditation. In Raja Yoga, the basic step is governing the subtle aspects of the personality. நம்மளுடைய சூக்ஷ்ம தன்மைகளை முதலில் நாம் சரியாக நிர்வகிக்க வேண்டும். தியானம்ங்கிறது ரொம்ப பின்னால சொல்லப்படுகிறது ராஜயோகத்துல. அதனால இப்ப எல்லாரும் பண்ணக்கூடிய இந்த நேரடியான தியானம் அப்படிங்கிறது ஒரு சரியான வழி கிடையாது. ஆனால் ஏன் அந்த மாதிரி சொல்லித்தர வேண்டி இருக்குன்னா, மக்கள் எல்லோருமே மன உளைச்சலின் உச்சகட்டத்தில இருக்கிறார்கள். அவர்களிடம் எதுவுமே பேசக்கூட முடிவதில்லை. அதனால தியானம் அப்படிங்கிறது பேராக இருந்தால் கூட நம்ம அவங்களுக்கு சொல்லித்தர்றது தியானம் கிடையாது. நம்ம அவங்களுக்கு சொல்லித்தர நினைக்கிறதும் அவங்க கத்துக்கிறதும் தளர்வுறதான் கத்துக்கிறாங்க. They are just learning to relax. So whatever we are able to teach them so that they are able to become relaxed, that is fine.
சார் தீட்சை பத்தி உங்க கருத்து என்ன சார்? ஸ்பரிச தீட்சை, நயன தீட்சை அப்படி இருக்கு இல்லையா? தீட்சை பத்தி நீங்க என்ன சார் சொல்ல வரீங்க?
In the recent times, we have heard of Sri Ramakrishna giving Diksha to Vivekananda. In very old times, we have heard of Shiva giving Diksha to Arjuna. Just before giving the Pashupatastra, he gives a Diksha, Sparsha Diksha, which is an Alingana Diksha. He hugs Arjuna. Today we don't have a Sri Ramakrishna, today we don't have a Vivekananda, today we don't have a great student like Arjuna, and today we don't have a great guru like Shiva. So if a great guru is there, and if a great Shishya is there, then Diksha is something that happens. And Diksha can be given in many ways. Diksha can be given by even giving a small piece of food that the guru is eating. Diksha can be given by giving a piece of cloth that the guru is using. Diksha is the process in which, if the disciple is ready, the guru pours himself into the disciple. நான் என்கின்ற உணர்வு அறவே கரைந்து போய் முழுமையாக காலியாக உள்ளுக்குள்ளே எவ்விதமான தன்முனைப்பற்ற நிலையிலே ஒரு சீடன் இருக்கிற பொழுது, முழுமையை உணர்ந்த பேர் உணர்விலே ஆனந்தத்தில் திளைத்துக் கொண்டிருக்கிற குரு ஒருவர் தன்னை தன் சிஷ்யன் உள்ளுக்குள்ளே முழுமையாக கொடுத்து விடுவதுதான் தீட்சையாக இருந்திருக்கிறது. இன்னைக்கு பேரளவுல ஸ்பர்ச தீட்சை அப்படின்னு ஒண்ணு இருக்கு, நயன தீட்சை அப்படின்னு ஒண்ணு இருக்கு, ஞான தீட்சை அப்படின்னு ஒண்ணு இருக்கு, தொட்டு கொடுக்கக்கூடியது ஸ்பர்ச தீட்சை, கோழி முட்டை இடுவது போல, நயன தீட்சை வந்து மீன்கள் முட்டையை பொரிப்பது போல கண்ணால் பார்த்து, ஞான தீட்சை என்பது ஆமைகள் நினைத்தே முட்டைகளை பொரிப்பது போல அப்படின்ற உதாரணங்கள் எல்லாம் சொல்லப்பட்டாலும் தன்னை முழுமையாக உணர்ந்த ஒரு ஞானி, கருணையே வடிவாக இருக்கக்கூடிய ஒரு கொடை வள்ளலாக இருக்கக்கூடிய ஒரு ஞானி, ஏக்கத்துடன் இருக்கக்கூடிய முழுமையாக காலியாகவும் ஏக்கத்துடனும் இருக்கக்கூடிய ஒரு சீடன், இவர்கள் 2 பேர் சந்திக்கிற போது அவர்களுடைய அன்பின் பரிமாற்றம் தான் தீட்சையாக இருக்கிறது.
Great, sir. Thank you.
And
சுவாமிஜி அப்ப அந்த தீட்சையின் முடிவில் வந்து நான் யார் என்றதை உணர வைப்பார் இல்லையா குரு?
That's a very difficult question, Mother. ரொம்ப நம்ம எல்லாருக்கும் என்ன ஆயிடுச்சுன்னா, இது எல்லாம் வார்த்தைகளா நம்ம எல்லாருக்கும் தெரியுது. உண்மை நிலையில இந்த அனுபவங்கள் இல்லாமல் வார்த்தைகளை எல்லாம் படிச்சு வச்சுட்டோம். அதனால வார்த்தைகளாகவே எல்லாத்துக்கும் பதில்கள் தேடுறோம். அனுபவத்துல பதில்கள் தேட ஆரம்பிக்கணும். நான்
உணரணும் இல்லைங்களா? உணரத்துக்கு நாள் ஆகும். அப்போ
முயற்சி எடுக்கணும். முதல்ல நம்ம காலியா ஆகணும். நம்ம காலியே ஆகாம இருக்கோம். நீங்க யாரு? நீங்க
நிறைய என் பேர் கிரிஜா லட்சுமி. கிரிஜா லட்சுமி PhD ஸ்டூடெண்ட்.
பாருங்க, உங்களோட நினைப்பு இல்ல, கிரிஜாலட்சுமியோட நினைப்பு உங்களை பத்தி என்னன்னா நீங்க PhD ஸ்டூடெண்ட்னு இருக்கு.
அதெல்லாம் நீங்க
இல்ல, நான் ஒண்ணும் இல்லாம இருக்கேன், நான் காலியா இருக்கேன், தெரியல, தயவு செய்து எனக்கு உண்மையை உணர்த்துப்பா அப்படின்னு ஏங்கக்கூடிய மனோநிலை இருக்கு. உணர்த்த முடியும்.
அதுதான்.
Swamiji, voice breaking. Oh, can you please repeat that?
I'm saying nowadays we are approaching everything in the form of words, because so much has been published, so many books are there, so much information is floating everywhere, and it is so easy to have information, but it is very rare to find wisdom. And a disciple is a person who is parched and thirsty and is so much yearning. Ramakrishna used to give an example. When you are pushed inside water, how deep your desire will be there to breathe. That kind of desire, if it is there for you to know yourself, then your guru will appear to you. So we are all operating from our ego. We are thinking that, we are a PhD. Like, I think I am a Swami. You think that you are a yoga expert. And Girija Lakshmi ji thinks that she is a PhD student. Sridevi ji thinks that she is a coordinator of this Zoom meeting. Or she is a professor in the university. We are all having some identity from where we are trying to approach this concept of yoga. And it is going to only evade our understanding.
Right. But when we think, yes, I am nothing, when we keep repeating the same, isn't our mind get conditioned that we are nothing? Ultimately, we are nothing then. Isn't that nothing, correlating with uselessness? Annamadri. I'm not talking about the spiritual aspect. I'm saying, like, in a practical way, we talk about conditioning of mind, right? Namba enna yosikrom adha namba aavo. So when we say I'm nothing, so that means I'm nothing at the end of the day. That's zero. I'm zero then. So maybe
again the same. Again, can I?
Sure.
Yeah. So I would like to respond to what Deepa ji is asking.
But material world க்கு எப்படி அது பொருந்தும்? நம்ம கொஞ்ச காலம் இங்க இருக்கிற வரைக்கும்
விஜயலட்சுமி மா, நான் இப்ப தீபா மா கேட்ட கேள்விக்கு முதல்ல பதில் சொல்லி முடிக்கிறேன்.
சரிங்க ஐயா.
அதுலயே நீங்க கேக்குறதுக்கும் பதில் இருக்கலாம், கொஞ்சம் கேட்டுக்கோங்க.
ஓகே.
Thank you. The same problem we are encountering in these questions. We are asking all these questions from a very academic angle, from an intellectual angle.
Absolutely.
We are trying to understand what this Swami is saying. Our education in the last 70 years in our country has made us dependent on our intellect. You know, there is a famous song which I like very much. ஏனென்ற கேள்வி கேட்காமல் வாழ்க்கை இல்லை. You remember that song? It's a beautiful song where the person is asking, you should ask why, you should ask how, you should ask where, when, what. You have to be an inquirer. This is the basic tenet of science. And it says you have to be an inquirer. And the original idea of inquiry is science. But today what has happened is we have become believers of science. We are not scientific. We are believers of science. Basically, we are believers, and our education system has emphasized extrapolated emphasis has been put on intellect than on experience. Therefore, we want to understand it. What this person is saying, I have to understand. If it is convincing, then I will try. If there is doubt, I will ask question first. I will not get involved in the process. So there is a basic flaw in the approach. One thing. The second thing is, we are not asking an individual to think that they are nothing. Nothingness, Shunyatvavada, belongs to Buddhism. Yoga talks about Purnatva. No, there is a very beautiful shloka. All of you might know this. Purnamadah, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnam Udachyate, Purnasya Purnamadhaya, Purnameva Avasishyate. We are indeed intrinsically part and parcel of the fullness and completeness. Instead of saying you are nothing, instead of saying that you are very small, instead of saying that you are a papi, you're a sinner, yoga says that you are the Satchidananda. It is not saying you are small. It is not saying you are nothing. It is saying that you are the essence. It is saying that you are the truth. It is saying that you are the consciousness. It is saying that you are bliss, divine. Where is it saying that you are nothing? It is describing you as the fullness. It is describing you as the completeness. But it is saying that today, at this moment, you are not aware of it. Except that today I am not able to experience Sat Chit Ananda. I hear that I am Sat Chit Ananda. I have to learn it. I have to discover it. There seems to be some method and there seems to be someone who knows it. Therefore, I submit my learning nature so that I will be guided. This is the attitude. It is not an attitude where I think that I am nothing. On the contrary, it is an attitude that my Guru says that I am full. My Guru says that I am complete. I am unable to experience that fullness and completeness. So I seek with all humility to my Guru to please guide me to discover that fullness, to discover that completeness. Deepika ji, Girija Lakshmi ji,
Very
did I answer?
beautiful, Swamiji. Absolutely, this is what I was looking for. Instead of just saying I am nothing, but like
Yes, sir.
you know, paripurna, or I'm full, or I'm like, you know, the way you have explained it was very nice. It's very nice. Thank you so much, Swamiji. Hari Om.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are learning. We have
Namaste, Namaste ji.
to get that Sachidananda stage. We have to learn.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, explanation, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Very much. Thank you very much. வாழ்க
Namaste
வளமுடன்.
ji.
Swami,
Namaste.
voice
Chana,
Namaste ji.
Namaste. Who is this?
Yadil
This is-
sir, hope you remember me. Bhavan,
Bhavans. Ah, yes.
yes, had a very good session after a long time and enjoyed all your explanations. Thank you for your lovable and wonderful explanations about the thing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now.
Namaste
There is one
ji.
more person who is trying, Srinivas.
Yes. Yes. Namaste ji. What is the difference between the yogi and Swamiji, and what is their role in the current society and their presence? Can you please explain?
Oh my God, you are asking such a at 12:39 you are asking such a question. I am very doubtful whether we have the time to explore this whole
We have another 8 minutes, Swamiji.
8 minutes.
Yes, Swamiji.
I will try. Srinivasji, I will try. You are asking this question at the back
Okay.
end of our session. I will definitely try.
Okay. Okay.
So I described to you what a yogi is supposed to be. An aspirant of yoga becomes a yogi first, where the goal is to master the inner nature and allow it to become free from whatever is blocking the vision. Having discovered this, you have discovered this nature. What are you wanting to do in your life? How do you want to live the rest of the life? There are two paths available for a yogi. Having discovered the true nature, the yogi can live a life for achieving all the good things in life. And the yogi can create a positive living environment for himself and the people with whom he or she is connected and associated with, and make life better for all the people who are connected with. And leave the body with the feeling that I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the senses, but I am the immortal self. So it is a normal life. After realizing the truth, you live with the realization of the truth, a glorious life, and you live along with everyone who are around you, connected with you. A Swami, after realizing this nature, decides that what is the point in living for the sake of this body? What is the point in living for the sake of other bodies which are connected to this body and this mind and this intellect and this prana? A Swami is one who elevates and who looks at a goal which is far more resonating with the realization. Having realized that I am not this body, having realized that I am not this mind, having realized that I am not this buddhi, with which I am able to convey whatever the buddhi has in store. The Swami is a person who dedicates all the things that are possible, his own life itself, for the sake of study about the nature of the self. About the nature of the truth of one's own nature and the whole universe. We actually live a life where we are there and the world is there and our creator is there. I am here, I live in this world, and this world came into existence because of someone who has created this. There should have been some intelligent cause behind this world. The Swami is an individual who dedicates his life or her life in pursuit of discovering the nature of the self, the nature of the world, the nature of God, the relationship between these three, and having discovered that nature, lives for the sake of guiding anyone if they approach. These traditions need to be preserved, so that if there is an individual who wishes to make this journey of self-discovery, it is not an external journey, it is an internal journey. In order to make this journey, if someone is getting that desire, the Swami is an individual who dedicates his or her life for the sake of guiding anyone who wishes to approach it. And in return, the Swami does not have an expectation in particular. It is not based on a compensation model that the Swami shares what he or she knows. A Swami shares because that is their nature. They have discovered oneness with everyone and everything. And they unconditionally share with the whole cosmos. And if nobody comes in search for the knowledge, they don't become depressed. They document it in every which way it is necessary and possible. We have seen in the lives of all the great yogis, Matsyendranath, Yarahanda, Patanjali, Satyananda, Shivananda. We have seen in the lives of great masters who lived only for the sake of upliftment of others and without having any personal specific expectations from this, because they are already full and they are already complete. Such people become Swamis.
Hari Om Swamiji. I take this opportunity to thank you on behalf of the Faculty of Yoga of Sciences and Therapy, Meenakshi Academy of Higher Education. And we are very blessed to have you here for this session. And most of them have cleared their doubts, and you have extended the time also. We are very grateful to you, Swamiji. Hari Om. Hari Om.
Thank you.
Thank you, Valuvaluman Swamiji.
Thank you, Swamiji. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you. Hari Om.
Thank you, Swamiji, for the wonderful session.
Thank
Really,
you,
we feel that we are blessed today. And
Thank you,
please,
ma'am.
can you please share the contact of you, Swamiji, for further
Can you,
clarifications on spiritual?
Sridevi ji, can you please share my
Yes,
number with
Swamiji.
all of
Yes,
them?
Swamiji. I'll share it in the group.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you, ma.
Swamiji. Hari Om. Hari Om.
I'll also share our website.